But we're into draft for game number 2 here, Dagda, and it's going to be V5 over on our blue side now.
Yeah, I mean, look, V5, I think here are doing the correct call. Get rid of the likes of the Kai'Sa, and then look to prioritize like the Jhin first pick, something along these lines where they are getting just pure comfort for Y4 in the spot lane. And especially if you go towards something like this Jhin, you have a lot more opportunities and to enact this, like, just pivot into several different compositions. You can go for this very long range comp if that's what you want to go with, where you can go towards like there's always banned away, but like niddly jungles for Wei, these kind of things. But you can also move yourself back into this more traditional front to back team fighting style. Like, Jhin is just such a versatile carry that he really, for me, stands out as the premier AD carry on this patch.
Yeah, he really does. We've got Lan Xing though, locking in. Sorry?
Sorry, I was just saying alongside Kai'Sa as well.
I see. Lan Xing going to be locking into Pantheon to start us off. It's answered immediately with an Aatrox for Breathe, which we've not seen Aatrox be so high priority in drafts. We have seen a little bit of Aatrox. Certainly don't doubt that Breathe is very capable of bringing that into a team fight, but I'm surprised to see it so early on in the draft.
Especially now because you do open up the opportunity for V5 to pivot into something like Camille in the top lane. Like, the reason we don't see Aatrox very early is there's a lot of answers that can go up against it. Even if Lan Xing wants to go towards something like we've seen a lot with the Gnar and the buffs that he got on 11.1, like, you can play this lane very easily as Lan Xing now. And I don't think we're going to see him just falter back towards the likes of the Ornn. On the opposite side, though, Jomung, he's got, well, one aggressive AD carry band. Let's just go towards the other really aggressive AD carry. Samira here picked up for Jomung. On V5, I want to see you react to this. I was about to say, I think I'd rather see them go towards something like the Alistar and then something like maybe the Misfortune here in this bottom lane. Something that can deal with this Samira. Because if you don't, you're now running the opportunity where you take the Alistar here, you have a very aggressive bottom lane that you can just flash on as missing, get that level 1 setup, and then have Beishang again just play and feed himself down towards this bottom side and allow the WE bot lane to take over in a very similar manner to we saw in game number 1.
Perhaps that's the secret. Perhaps the Pantheon was a support lock-in. Now with the Jhin there as well, maybe that is the bot lane already. Over on the side of WE, they're going to lock in a Sejuani for Beishang, which is maybe it's for missing. I'm going to say that it's for Beishang.
Yeah, this is the second time Beishang has played it, and specifically into the Pantheon matchup, and it's looked pretty damn good. Because the thing about Sejuani traditionally is that she falls behind when it comes to just how quickly she can clear. When you look at the Graves, the Nidalees, the Talias, these sort of picks. But against something like a Pantheon where you're not worried about just being outscaled and overrun in the jungle, you have that time to farm. You're not going to be overpressured, and it means when we get to these team fights, you've got this big beefy tank who does very well against Pantheon. Because as we saw the last time Beishang played it, every time Pantheon delivers himself into the back line, he's just met with the ultimate from Sejuani. He doesn't get to move, you just burst him down, he doesn't get to use Gore Drinker, and he's dead. It just shuts down so much of what this Pantheon wants to do, and I love this pick coming in from Beishang.
And on top of that, it gets to answer the question of, we were saying, Beishang he's great on a carry jungler when the team's supporting him. How well does he do on the supportive picks? If this becomes a regular pick for him, that answers the question. Very good. So we'll have to see how that one goes. We've got a couple more bans, though, coming on through WE. Banning away the Maokai. You'd assume that's towards PP God rather than anywhere else. And then the Renekton from Lan Xing. And then on the side of V5, trying to set up a good mid lane matchup by banning the Yone and taking the Alistar away from Missing.
Yeah, Leona needs to be the pick here for Missing. You've already set up this very potent dive composition. Leona works very, very well with that. You've now got two big ultimates that can set up these dive potentials that make it very difficult for V5 to try and get away from. And now, again, you can look towards something that can facilitate this for Shanks in the mid lane. He can go again back towards something like the Orianna, just be a shockwave facilitator, a further CC in this position. Or even if he wants to, because you do have that AP damage to a certain extent coming through from your Sejuani, you can opt in towards an AD mid laner, which is why you can see the likes of that Yone banned away by V5.
I love how when the vote comes in, it starts 50-50 for a couple of seconds, and then you see it dramatically swing in one way or the other. This time, it's very in favor of WE. It's usually just in favor of whoever won the most recent game, let's be honest. Here we go, though. Draft is finished out. It's going to be a Gnar for Lan Xing, so it will be Wait, hang on. Is that a Shen jungle?
Jungle Shen?
River Shen
could be
coming
Shen
back
support.
into fashion.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. Shank's going to go with the Victor. I know he's going to go with the Victor. But it looks at things it's Shen mid right now, but who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows
Okay, I have a feeling it's Wei Pantheon jungle, Shen top, and we're going to get the Shen support, and the Gnar top lane is where my eyes are drifting. Either way, I'm going to look at WE's composition. I think they have a very, very strong team fight orientated composition. We already talked about the dive potential. Victor can do very well in following up with that with this long range damage. So and also being able to control choke points to a certain extent and split the team, which is perfect for this dive orientated composition.
Well, we'll have to see how this one's going to pan out. I'm just hoping the V5 traded in time, to be honest, at this point, because they seem to be confusing themselves with the trades that were going on in amongst the team. Interesting to see that V5 have somewhat adopted this style that we saw out of WE in game number 1. We kind of have a bit of a role reversal here.
Certainly. I think V5 have gone back towards a little bit more of the bread and butter, where they're understanding, hey, look, this late game scaling didn't quite work out. Let's instead go towards, hey, strong matchup for Longxing in the top lane with a mid-game spike coming off from the Gnar as well. We've got this early game aggressive jungler for Wei, a playmaking ability down towards the spot side with PP God having the Shen, and again, Shen very, very good into this Leona pick. You can obviously stop the stuns and stuff coming through, so a lot of strong lane matchups for V5 that Wei can look to play through.
V5 looking to win lane, win game. It's time to jump into game number 2 here between V5 and WE. All right, well, now we've got that out of our system. Let's see if V5 can pull themselves back together here, because V5, in their debut game, managing to lose out and taking some fights that realistically they shouldn't have been taking during the early game. This time around, though, definitely more scaling on the side of WE with this Victor in the mid lane. You don't necessarily want to be playing around the Victor in the early stages of the game, so perhaps V5 can return to their fast-paced gameplay that we're so used to seeing.
I agree, and I think especially when you look at the lane matchups right now, you've got an entire top side of the map that is winning very heavily for V5. A bot lane matchup that does do well in just neutralizing the ability for Missing to go aggressive, but certainly won't win outright. So when I look at this, Wei has an opportunity to play pretty heavily through his lanes, maybe even get aggressive on towards Beishang and the enemy jungle, and that's where I want to see them, V5, getting control of this map state early and not giving the opportunity for WE to find these early wins like they did in the last game.
You can see the positioning from WE already fairly aggressive here as they're going to be trying to fight for level 2. And level 2 is so crucial in this lane because if Jomung and Missing get level 2 first and can force this fight, it becomes very dicey immediately for the bot lane of V5. But they managed to push it out, they managed to hit level 2, and they've denied the potential all in.
And this is why when we see the Shen, oftentimes you kind of got to start with the Q level 1, but at least you can always opt in towards taking the Spirit's Refuge in the second rotation, because that way, again, if Missing tries to go for these early aggressive plays, you can throw down the Spirit's Refuge on your AD carry, stop the engage, and then because Shen isn't your traditional support, he's got more damage built into his kit. You can turn it around back on towards WE while making sure that Jomung actually can't get any return damage. So it's a super nice lane setup coming through for PP God, a nice adaptation in the draft. However, I'm looking at this mid lane. As you can see in your screens, Mole is going to have a field day in this mid. Shanks playing on this Victor will get shoved in quite substantially, will take a lot of poke damage in this lane, and it opens up the opportunity for Mole to get these roams off. So this is what I was talking about with this mid-jungle 2v2. Wei and Mole should, in theory, be able to find opportunities to go for these aggressive plays, and my eyes are drifting down towards this bottom lane where they can look to punish Jomung and Missing under the tower.
It's also good to see Longxing having a little bit more priority in his lane. Obviously, Breathe taking this Aatrox completely blind in the top side, it was inevitable that he'd be in a pretty tough matchup, so this will be somewhat of a tester game for Breathe of how well he's going to be able to do when he is playing this weak side. But it's good to see Langxing should be able to kind of spread his wings a little bit in this game and hopefully impact the game a little bit more than he was able to on the Ornn when the rest of the team was sort of falling apart around his ears.
Oh. V5 already trying to put the punishment on towards Breathe. Now, change to Pantheon that, just to point it out with the Aegis, no longer blocks those terror shots. So going for this aggressive of a dive is a little bit suspect. So it looks like they are just going to back away and just allow Langxing the opportunity to shove in this top wave and punish under terror. You can already see the CS discrepancy opening up for Langxing in that top lane because he can just poke very well in mini-Gnar form underneath the tower.
Beishang hovering in the mid lane here. If Mole goes aggressive onto Shanks, and Shanks is doing his best to look juicy here, Mole realizes that he can't do too much and actually will go get a stun onto Beishang. Mole apparently just quite happy to trade 2v1 here, and rightly so, because he's managing to win it. Weiwei's over to the side now as well, and Shanks might have overextended, overstayed, and forced to flash away.
Yeah, Shanks really... Oh, hang on.
Hang on. Shenanigans in the bottom lane here. Looks like Missing and Jomung winning out in a 2v2 a little bit there. And look at this wave that they can just hold forever here.
Yeah, and that was actually what I wanted to talk about in mid lane. The wave state mid was perfect for Mo. He froze it just in front of his tower, which means that Shanks has to overextend. And that's why we saw Beishang move in to try and break that. But bot side now is this the exact same story.
Missing didn't recall, Y4 didn't realize, flashes away, PP God gonna be stunned up. But Beishang is so damn tanky already. Jomung just dashes through the team, and now they turn straight on towards Weiwei. He has to flash away as well. Missing walks out with his life, at least for now. And I don't think anything else comes out from V5.
A Great Spirit's Refuge from PP God. The entire time that fight was going on, it sat underneath Weiwei, so we couldn't follow up a mid lane.
Okay. Mole is, he's feeling angry about the last game. He's feeling a little upset that Shanks had a CS lead, and so he's taking things into his own hands. This is why we were so surprised that Mole was winning the matchup last time around.
Yeah, and this is the problem. If you've got this isolated 1v1, because of this attention is being put towards bot side, it opens up Mole to make these plays. Hits that level 6 first, because he's got that TP, he's able to reset faster, not miss out on as many waves, and is able to punish Shanks as a result. Now V5 again control this mid lane, they can start to get these early dragons, and then they can start to ramp up into a very potent mid game. Like, their one-item spikes across this team are so damn strong, especially when you put it into comparison to WE, specifically looking at Beishang and Shanks. The spike you get from the Sunfire Aegis and the Luden's Tempest just isn't as strong as the counter side for the Gore Drinker and Luden's Tempest.
Well, that's a very simple kill from Mole. Just gets his combo, lands his stun, smacks the outplay button there on the keyboard, and beautifully done. Gets himself a kill. Great stuff to see coming out from Mole, a player that is obviously very hyped up coming into this season. He was an exceptionally strong mid laner last season. A clear standout on V5. He was kind of the only player remaining from... Well, I guess Y4's back now, but he was the only player remaining from the squad that lost everything. And I was surprised to see them keep him last summer. Then in summer, he proved me completely wrong. He is an exceptional mid lane talent, and he's looking to prove that time and time again, apparently, as he's just desperate to bully Shanks out.
Yeah, and you can see PP God, the second missing is actually missing from that bottom lane, roams up here to make sure that Mole can continue to play this aggressive. So beautiful play here from Mole on the Syndra. And Shanks, I think, getting finally a taste of what the LPL has to offer. Picking this Victor into the Syndra, it's a horrific matchup for the Victor. There are opportunities, like if you wanted to Victor, you could go towards like an Electrocute build, which means you can get a lot of Taste of Blood and Ravenous Hunter and have a better time. But you can see right now going for this Phase Rush build is not working.
Hang on, no way. Shanks, you cannot just stand there and take the shots. You cannot just stand in the stun like that. He desperately wants to get the farm, but it's just not happening. You can see on his player cam there, he's kind of hanging his head in shame a little bit because Mole has completely run away with the mid lane.
And this is a big point, or big thorn in the side, at least, of WE. Mole now, again, you as Shanks are 2 levels down. You've got to play so far back in this lane. Mole now gives complete mid lane control for early objectives. I mean, the Dragon will go the way of WE, but Wei Wei is getting the Rift Herald for the team completely scot-free here. And you're lending yourself a lot more control towards this bottom side as well. So Jomong and Missing, who've been doing a very good job of punishing this bottom lane, getting an advantage for themselves, now have to play with a lot more respect, because Mole can shove in mid, play down towards this bottom side, and keep Jomong and Missing in check.
Oh, Missing is actually going to blast cone towards PP God. I don't think they actually want to go for this fight. One of the big questions for me, Dagda, is from the side of WE, how respectfully are they willing to play? Because the biggest criticism we had for V5 last game was that, hey, they weren't being respectful enough. They weren't acknowledging that WE were ahead at the time and could win the 5v5s. They were losing fights that they realistically shouldn't have been taking. Now, the shoe is on the other foot. And does WE respect the fact that they're behind in this game and they can't just fight?
So the good thing for them, at least, is that Jomong and Missing's lane is going well. So as long as they can keep that in check, or at least keep that rolling, the early dragons and stuff don't become as easy for V5 to just go for. Although Mole is very accelerated here. What I want to see V5 do to shut that down and make sure that WE have to definitely play on the back foot is get a deep TP ward here for both Mole and Longshin. Give the opportunity here for them when Jomong and Missing are shoving in that they can join the lane very quickly, because you're not going to get it answered by the likes of Shanks, who's gone towards this cleanse. So creating that man advantage bot side is the best port of call here for V5 and solidifying it.
Breathe looking to try and trade onto Lanxing, who obviously Lanxing has about a 20 CS lead at this point, as you would expect not to have a pretty hefty advantage in this kind of matchup. But he's doing a decent job to keep himself relevant. He's not fallen too dramatically far behind. At least in XP, he's managed to keep things even. So Breed's still very much in this one. And I am curious how WE try and play out the mid game to survive long enough that Shanks becomes a factor, because 35 CS down, hang on, Breed's getting dived right here. Wei Wei flies in, but he's just shy of the wall. Breed uses the World Ender and just sprints away from the play.
So if I'm WE, I want to do exactly what Missing is doing right now. Because we know we've got this very aggressive bot lane who has already solidified a lead for themselves, let's get Missing out onto the map and see if he can work in conjunction with Beishang to maybe get some ganks mid against the cleanseless Syndra, or answer for some of these plays on the top side with the man advantage there.
We've got a Herald dropped in the top side. They really want to try and finish this tower off. The Herald won't finish the tower by itself here, and it will get finished off now. Doesn't look like V5 will be able to fully commit to this one. Bear in mind that PP God can always just ult to whatever fight happens on this Shen. But Missing now moves over towards the mid lane. It's going to be quite tanky. Can't necessarily be the focus. Good amount of damage coming out from Mole, but it is a Leona at the end of the day. So Missing is quite happy to just soak the ult. Oh, hang on. Jomong, he's looking for a 1v1. 3 stacks on that passive. Can he get the ult up? Flash away from Y4. And now the Stand United. Jomong might have gone a little bit too deep on this one. Now the curtain call opens up. How good are you at dodging these shots is the question. Jomong has to use the cleanse, but now he's taunted up and taken down. Jomong, that was too far.
It's Jomong madness! It's Jomong madness! We said this is what he does. He gets just a little bit too antsy, tries to make the plays, and sometimes it goes great, sometimes it goes horribly wrong. And that's the time it goes horribly wrong. Not respecting the fact that PP God had that ultimate to still join in the bottom lane, and not quite able to close the distance either. But Missing now, just trying to bully V5 off this bot side, and unfortunately for WE, this was the lane that they could have looked to play around. This was the lane that they could have tried to bring these advantages that they had elsewhere. But now you look at that CS, it's evening up for Y4. He's got a kill for himself as well. He's going to be back on even footing.
Ooh.
No, Missing
Wants to 1v2 apparently. He had the ignite up. Solar Flare goes wide though.
I like the way V5 are playing though, because when we look at like what are the lanes that are going to win this game for V5, it's not going to be the Jhin in the bottom lane. Jin's a facilitator, he's not a 1v9 carry. the big carries and the people who are going to win this game are Longxing and Mole. So already they got a bunch of gold invested in towards Mole in the top lane. They got a bunch of, in the mid lane. They got a bunch of turret plates invested in towards Longxing in the top lane. So V5 are playing at the map state and understanding how their composition works. This is just kind of like a little bit of a side, a little bit of extra. Like, it's nice that you get this, but if that kill had gone to Jomung, it would have been great. But extra kills onto Y4 is not going to mean too much. It just kind of sucks.
Yeah, and I mean, this is just vintage Jomung at this point. I feel like, forget Vayne spotting, we're just Jomung spotting at this point. Every single WE game, you have to look out for the moment where Jomung just decides, this is my moment of glory. And the thing is, mechanically, he is a great player. And we have seen him have moments of glory that are truly exceptional. But when the enemy Jhin has flash up, has everything available, and it's a Shen support that can just jump into the fray, maybe solo diving without minions isn't necessarily the safest play. You know, I'm just throwing it out there, Doctor.
Or flash, or anything else, you know. I mean, if any of those things were there, maybe you'd be alright. But you can see here, I like this call from WE, not trying to contest onto towards Dragon. They know they're already very far behind. So instead, maybe looking to get some pressure bot, but Shanks once again just not respecting the pressure and the range that are on V5 side.
Oh no, Shanks is in trouble here. Double ultis come out. 5 shots from the Syndra, 4 from the Jhin, and that makes 9. 9 equals Shanks' health bar apparently, because he's down for the 3rd time this game. PP God pushing aggressively as Wei Wei just waltzes in and steals the large chicken here. 4k gold lead. Beisheng is sticking around at this tower. Missing's arrived as well. They're tanky. Are they tanky enough is the question. In comes Breed on the Aatrox with the World Ender procced, and that's actually going to be a tower shot to finish the kill off. Nicely done here on the defense. Y4 takes a couple of tower shots as well. He's exceptionally low on this one. Jomung, by the way, taking Krugs on the bottom side. He's not really interested in flanking and joining the team. He's looking for individual advantages.
I think this is the best play for Jomung. Like, he needs to be the big carry here, especially with Shanks being set so far behind. The problem with Shanks here is that, you like, traditionally with the Victor, you want to go like Luden's Tempest and then like get your Archangel Staff, and you start to have this nice steady climb in towards the later point of the game. However, because he's been set so far behind, chances are he's going to have to opt in towards a Verdant Barrier and start to work towards that Banshees to deal with how far ahead Mole is. That slows down and puts a big trough into his capability to become that late game carry Victor is. So a huge amount of this game right now relies on Jomung. So Jomung taking this extra farm and being a bit more selfish, I actually like and think is the best way for WE to try and claw their way back into this game.
Right, so Jomung just trying to find those individual advantages. And let's bear in mind, this is a Samira we're talking about. If the situation occurs, he can just pop off and win the game by himself. Like, this is one of the champions that really can hyper carry, given the right scenario. The thing that does stand out to me, though, Dagda, is V5 have answers for a Samira. Look at the amount of CC on this team. You've got a Shen, obviously, but then you've got Syndra with stuns, you've got Wei Wei with stuns, and then Gnar, when he's Mega Gnar, which he wants to be in a team fight, his entire kit is stuns. So it becomes very difficult for Jomung to actually find a window to really pop off on this Samira.
Exactly, and I think that's the beauty of it as well, is that it's not like it's... I mean, the Syndra stun, in theory, can be blocked by the wind wall, but you can't block the point-and-click CC from the Pantheon, the follow-up from the Shen. Like, this is where it becomes very difficult. At least Jomung does have a cleanse, so can do something with it in a team fight. These team fights are still going to be very difficult to navigate for WE. It's just that, unfortunately for them, it's all they really have left because of how far behind Shanks is. I mean, look at the item discrepancy. You've already got the Luden's Tempest and the Fiendish Codex already picked up for Mole, whereas Shanks hasn't even finished that Luden's Tempest, and we're 17.5 minutes into the game.
Beisheng taking a bit of a love tap there as Mole protecting his pink ward that is so far deep into WE territory. But I have to say, Dagda, I don't think this is WE territory anymore. This is all belonging to V5. They have moved in. They are the new neighbors, and they are not interested in partying. Looks like we've got a minute and a half on this next dragon. It's 4 kills in favor of V5 right now. And when it comes to the items, when it comes to the champions as well, you got to give every advantage to V5 at this point.
Exactly. And look, as WE here, the game plan is right. How do we try and recoup? You got Dragon in a minute 10. We're not even thinking about that as WE. Honestly, I'd sack this bottom tower, see if we can maybe get a freeze closer to our own side of the map, and try to avoid plays like this.
Well, I don't know what to say at this point. I started this cast off just complimenting Shanks, saying, hey, this is the guy that they needed. He's fantastic. He's taken it to mole. He's 0 for 0, Dagda. It's not great. It's really, he's 50 CS down. He's consistently out of position. Not good.
No, not at all. And this is why I was saying, like, if you sack that bot lane turret, okay, we can set up a little bit of the defense here where we can play underneath their towers and try to avoid a lot of the overpressure that Weiwei has. And same with PP God. Like, their ability to play off in these side lanes is crazy strong right now. But unfortunately for them, they're actually so far ahead that they're just able to dive Shanks. And without WE really in a position to support Shanks, they're able to pick him off. So at least now, Longxing, he's going to get this gold on the bottom side. And there's a bit of time here where maybe WE can still keep hold of Baron. Like, let these next two dragons go the way of V5. And maybe in the later portion of the game, where we get to the 30 to 35 minute mark, where gold isn't as one-sided, they might be able to make something happen. But V5 aren't giving them that chance.
Certainly not. In the mid lane they go. And we said that V5 were one of the fastest teams in the league last year. And they're looking to keep their reputation. Flash forced out and missing, and now a couple of shots will go his way from the likes of Y4. Appropriately playing Jin with 4 in his name. Beishang now has to back away as the mid lane inhibitor is almost certainly going to go down. And this is rapidly falling out of control from WE. We're getting to the point already where it's like, okay, what on earth can WE do to get back into this game? Because it doesn't feel like V5 are going to give them a single chance.
And on V5 side, you've got a very simple path to victory here. Although it looks like they might look for a pick here on WE overextended.
Yeah, WE trying to follow the wave, trying to get a bit of farm for themselves. Cloud Drake is up, which you can see Weiwei is going to move over towards. Beishang quite happy not to contest this one, just with the fact that it's a Cloud Drake anyway, but also nobody's anywhere near Soul. This is not going to be the end of the world, so WE rightly just giving that one up. In the meantime, PP God just sits around the Baron, just in case any shenanigans come out from WE.
The issue here, or at least look, for V5, we were saying, sorry, I'm holding on for a second. No, it's gone.
Oh, so close and yet so far.
Yeah, for V5 side though, like, withholding these kind of picks that maybe WE can get, have a really simple path to victory. It's a case of, hey, look, let's stick Longxing in one of these side lanes. He's beaten the crap out of Breathe, and with the extended range that Nar gets over the course of the game, he's able to chip away at these turrets now against Breathe pretty significantly. So he'll be totally fine. You can then use the super minions in mid. You can have Weiwei shove them in and just continuously keep pressure on these Nexus turrets while having the other 3 members play off on this bottom, or sorry, on the opposite side of the map. At least I'd actually stick them on top side. And you can again start to chip away at these turrets, making it very difficult for WE to defend because they just, 1, don't really have the wave clear with how far behind Shanks has been set, and 2, they don't have the global pressure that you do with Weiwei as well.
Good stun onto Shanks there. One thing that is important to mention is even though Shanks is literally a full item behind Mole at this point, he does have that Luden's Tempest now. So at least he can clear waves. He can start to do Victor things, at least to an extent. Beishang taking a good chunk of damage will be forced to flash away from this skirmish eventually. I mean, you can see that WE are simply outnumbered here, trying to defend a tier 2. In comes the curtain call, but shouldn't be able to finish anyone off. PP God and Weiwei can't really dive. There was no minions is the big problem. They managed to clear the minion wave out, and it means the V5 can't exactly dive.
Yeah, I still think looking at Shanks here, would prefer to see him go towards the verdant barrier. He isn't opting in towards that, but honestly, you can see there the amount of damage that's on Mole. Like, so if anyone doesn't know, verdant barrier is basically like the AP Seeker's arm guard.
The Blade Whirl there was so clutch. That kept him alive. PP God now very low in this fight. The Ignite taken, but he gets a shield at the last second. WE grouping up and trying to defend this tier 2. It's costing them everything right here, and the tower finally falls. There are supers in the base. V5 retreat, grab themselves a red buff, they could just look towards Baron. WE have to respond to these super minions.
And how do you do that? Mole is basically a one-man army right now. Yeah, you've got that word that thank you observers, we can see, but honestly, you can't approach this. Like, Shanks, you will get one shot by Mole, and that's exactly what he's trying to do here, tossing those orbs in Shanks' direction.
Here we go. Wei onto the backline, straight on towards Jomon. Can't quite do the damage to finish him off, but it doesn't matter because Beishun has gone down. That is the majority of the front line removed from the side of WE. And now PP God wants to chase some more. Nice flash taunt there onto Shanks. Dodges away from the root, though. Trying to throw some damage out as he moves. Shanks is going to be able to get the gravity down. And somehow gets away with his life. Honestly, I'm impressed that WE got away with as many players as they did there.
Yeah, so am I, but again, it's more gold in favor of V5. You're still losing a heap on the map here as WE, and V5 can just rinse and repeat. Like, they sure burnt a few flashes, but almost everything was burnt on WE, and the key things as well. The both cleanses burnt on Jomung and Shanks. Now when you get that repeat ultimate coming in from Wei, if you've got the follow-up from the likes of Mole in position already, it's super handy for them to pick off these backline carries and then just win the fight outright.
Well, looks like we do have 2 items finally finished on Jomung. His farm is exceptionally good this game. He's on 10 per minute so far, and he has that collector. So once again, if he can find the opportunity, he does have enough damage to be able to do things. It's kind of a different story in the mid lane, though. You can see it on the bottom of your screen. Look at that difference. The Luden's Tempest, about 10 minutes apart on either side. There have been 2 more items from all ever since. He's got a Medjai's to work with. In go WE. 4 members strong right here. As you can see, Breathe's in the mid lane right now. Lunxing looking to flank him, though. He's about to turn Mega, and Breathe may have overstayed his welcome. They are on the Cloud Rift, so at least he's got a speedy escape through the jungle. He's going to have to use the World Ender, strap on his Nikes, and sprint away. Looks like he's going to get out with it, though.
The beauty of that Magi Soul Stealer here for Mole as well, just coming back to your point, is because the Mythic passives build off of legendary items, Magi Soul Stealer is a super cheap legendary item. So you're already getting that extra magic pen off the Luden's Tempest thanks to that Magi Soul Stealer. And when you're already so far ahead as the Syndra, it's just kind of rubbing salt in the wounds where, hey, you get extra magic pen, plus you get this super gold efficient item. Like, Mole, this build from Mole is so perfect for him right now. It's why you can see the second he gets onto Jomung or Shanks, a QE combo is doing half their health bar.
So, I do want to ask you a question here, Dagda. Are V5 being too respectful? And I will say, that's not a question I ever expected to ask after last year's performance, but I feel like they've really backed away from this Baron multiple times now, but I don't think that WE could realistically fight them over the Baron if they were to commit.
Yeah, and I agree. I don't think the Baron is where they wanted to put their attention anyway. We already talked about how with the global composition that they have and having that mid lane inhibitor exposed, they could send Lunxing to the bot lane like they already had. Use the fact that you've got Wei with this global ultimate to pop into the mid lane, and he can then play support for both sides of the map while the rest of V5 go in on the top lane. And with the long range pressure you have from Mole and Y4, nobody from WE can actually stand underneath these turrets. So that's the way I wanted to see V5 play out this. The fact that they're playing so heavily around Baron doesn't lend itself to the strengths that they have inherently in this composition.
So what is it that we're looking towards in terms of WE, in terms of getting back in the game? Like, how many items do we need to see? At what point can Shanks become an actual champion instead of just a large minion?
I mean, it's going to be 3 to 4 here, essentially, for Shanks, and we're still a long way off. I mean, you can see how far his tier was delayed. He's not even stacked that tier properly to go from the Archangels to the Seraph's Embrace. But Lunxing, oh, this is perfect.
This would be the Mega Knot. He's not going to be able to get it onto everyone, though. Missing is taken down right at the very start of the fight. In goes Wei to remove everyone else from the skirmish. Bear in mind, there is no mid tower here. V5 should be able to just brute force their way in off the back of this pick and grab an inhib for themselves. And I realistically don't think there's much WE can do about this one. Shanks has now arrived on the scene, but does have to be awfully careful himself. Both of the carries on WE still have flash, still have cleanse available. But realistically, they don't have a front line to get in with.
That looked like a little bit of a misclick coming through from Wei. He stunned up Breathe rather than Jomung, who would have had to burn his cleanse, and you could have potentially burst him out as well as Weiwei. So, not quite able to finish off Jumong, which could have set them up for that Baron, but unfortunately, everyone from WE is still alive.
So WE positioning as if there was a dragon available. Jomong is now alone. Missing is trying to regroup with the rest of the team. Needs to go through the jungle. V5 really, really wanted to punish that, but they don't quite find the window of opportunity here.
I think WE, the thought process was, hey, Weiwei doesn't have his ultimate, same with PP God, maybe we can use that to our advantage where we can get this front-to-back team fight finally set up for ourselves. But unfortunately for them, hasn't been able to find their luck, and now they've got a blind in towards this jungle, which is so dangerous.
Huge stun onto Shanks. He actually flashes away and doesn't use his cleanse there. Keeps that available for later on, so nice patience. Missing will answer with his own life. Once again, V5 being very respectful so far. Curtain call. It's just going to be onto the tanks here. Jomong needs to be careful. Flashes away from Lunching's stun there. There's no more follow-up. So another pick for V5. But yet again, it's just onto Missing, and they can't turn it into more.
They can turn towards Baron, though. And as WE start to move in through this jungle, Longxing with his flash and coming off of the sleepy Gnar that he is right now, can try and get this play. That's where you're seeing V5 looking to recollapse him.
They're looking towards Beisheng and Breathe, who don't have a great route out of the play. Although I say that, they're on the Cloud Rift. Beisheng just going to sprint away to the tower. Nobody's actually seen where Breathe is right now. I think maybe they assumed he went up the same way as Beisheng. Breathe on a potential flank position if WE can engage this. But bear in mind, they are 8,000 gold behind right now. WE are not particularly in a position to fight.
They do not want to fight. When Mega Gnar is here and you've got Longxing with Flash, he can be so dangerous in these corridors. When you look at the amount of CC that's available on WE, Longxing becomes incredibly Flash reliant. As WE, you want to see if there's some way you can get that Flash burnt before these fights kick off. And then you can have Beisheng interrupt the hop. You can have Missing interrupt the ability for Longxing to enter these fights. But with Flash available, it becomes far too potent for the V5 front line.
It has to be said, though, this is actually kind of impressive from WE that, A, they're surviving for so long, and also a little, it feels almost nervous from V5 that they won't commit to the Baron, they won't really commit to any of these fights. They're not quite able to make anything more happen. They've been able to get the mid inhib twice now, but with 31 minutes into the game almost, they've been almost 10k up for, what, 10 minutes at this point? They haven't picked up a single Baron, and even the Dragon Soul that they should be able to get in 20 seconds, it's only a Cloud Soul, so that's not actually going to win them the game.
Now, the Cloud Soul is pretty nice for someone like Weiwei, where having that extra move speed when you ult in to chase people down is great, but I do agree, it's not the end of the world here for WE. It looks like they're basically agreeing with us as well, because they're going to give this over, so V5 haven't been able to play out the strengths, and this was something that was a big issue for them, and why we talked about their late game shot calling. They were kind of a banger bust type of team. Get the ball rolling early, play out through just having this massive advantage, and fighting teams and winning out that way with picks and in around these big objectives. WE have played this so smartly that they're not really given the opportunity for V5 to play out the plan that they want of picking people off when they enter in towards Baron. And now V5, I mean, this gold lead is starting to mean less and less as this game goes on.
And what an intelligent version of WE. What a difference from last season we're seeing here. When you thought about WE last year, it wasn't like super intelligent, I mean, they had very intelligent engages, but it was less about the long game of how can we manipulate our opponents. It was more about, let's find ourselves a clean 5v5 so Galio can ult.
V5 can't fight right now. You just got Longxing going Mega Gnar in the bot lane, he'd have to TP in, so this is more of a bait and a ruse, but Missy might have fallen for it.
He is tanky, though. Flashes away with his life here. The Chaos Storm going on through. Missing needs some help. The Blade will protect him. Beisheng get in front of the support. Looks like they've decided to sacrifice him. Blood for the Blood God as Missing goes down again.
Now, though, V5 can turn back over towards this Baron. They found the pick, although WE are still looking to try and contest. However, but two ultimates used by both Beisheng and Shanks, these are crucial for these fights. The only way they could try and win this is if you get a separation from Shanks thanks to a nice gravity field, and they can pick off two members of V5.
The hilarious thing is that for V5, Missing's Death Timer seems to be a resource that they can use every now and then. Here we go. Engage comes out. This is a 4 versus 5 right here, and the damage just isn't there. Breathe flashes on towards the carries. He's trying to do whatever he can here. Jomon can't stack up the passive, though. Inferno trigger, nowhere to be seen as Y4 looks for the 1v1. Breathe will finally fall, and that should be enough now for V5 to grab themselves this Baron.
Yeah, they will get the Baron. They will be able to reset. However,
oh, PP God's gone too deep on this one. That's a kill for Jomon now. We'll be able to stack up the passive as well. Lung Xing gonna take a bit of time. What lifesteal, says Lung Xing. Here's the rest of V5, and down go the 2 players from WE.
And they haven't bought enough time. V5 now realize, hey, look, we don't need this Baron. We can look for the end. It was a long, drawn-out fight, but it looks like V5 might have finally done it.
Oh dear, and this one's got to feel bad for Shanks. 0-5-0 on the back of this one. He was definitely the issue for the side of WE in the early game. And this will be V5, though, grabbing themselves their first game win of 2021 here in the LPL.